Hey gang, everyone here. Welcome on back to the Cade and another episode of Suckerpunch Sunday, the series where we take a deep dive into classic fighting or fighting platform-based games from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. And it's crazy to think that we've now gone 50 episodes deep in this series. We've of course hit that plateau as well with Sports Saturday last week. Hope you guys tuned in as we've gone in a slightly different direction in that series, where we're now taking one game, being NFL 2K2. And we are trying to get through a full season on it, and it's a great what-if scenario that started on a whim of what if the Patriots never had Tom Brady in 2001, 2002, what could be with that team. So, hope you guys tune in for that as well. But for this week, we're going to go back to 1991 and the good old SNK Neo Geo. And we're going to play a game that is right up the street of anybody who likes classic beat 'em up like we did playing Ninja Gaiden last week. But by comparison, it's not even on the same level as Ninja Gaiden, but it caters to everything that I loved growing up in the 80s / early 90s about this genre, and how you take everything from the classic B-spec and belower action movies of the time, and it fits perfectly in a game like this. We are going to play Burning Fight. Now, Burning Fight was released in arcades in 1988, but then was ported over to the Neo Geo in 1991, like I said, and then released on the Neo Geo CD as well. And what this game is, I mean, the plot is as follows. You have two popular and renowned New York City police detectives, Duke Edwards and Billy King, hot on the trail of dangerous Japanese crime lords in Japan, in Tokyo. Their investigation has led them to Tokyo, where they meet a police officer and martial arts expert named Ryu Seba, who agrees to join the NYPD detectives as they track down the crime city of bosses and end their reign of terror once and for all. It can't get much more basic than that, can it? I'm going to pause it right here really quick before we dive into it, because I just want to go over the particulars of this game. So, if you ever played Double Dragon, if you played Ninja Gaiden, if you've played any classic side-scrolling fighting game, Streets of Rage, Fatal Fury, they all follow a similar pattern. You have a primary attack button, you have a secondary attack button. In this case, you'll be able to do punches, you'll be able to do kicks. You can do jumps, although the characters in this game don't jump very high. And that's it. That's all the offense and defense you really have available to you. Now, as you're beating up different enemies, and you'll see as we go, they will drop different weapons that you can pick up and use against them. They'll drop poles that you can use, the bow staffs. They'll drop knives. One of them will drop a gun. Guys will drop sticks of dynamite that if you pick them up and throw them before they explode, they'll blow up other people. If you hold on to them too long, they'll blow you up. Now, this game has 5 levels to it, but they do tend to be longer levels than you would normally think in a game like this. And one thing that you will notice very early on is that the amount of damage that you do and the amount of damage to what your opponents do is actually fairly strong. So like I said, I got to throw that stick of dynamite away before I get hit. Now, each character in this game has a different fighting style to it. And as you will also notice, you will see that there will be different items that are dropped that can help replenish your life really quickly. Now, I want the bow staff. Another element of this game that is not very well known is that you can have... Ryu picked a weapon here, damn it. There are certain areas in each level that you can actually go into and get bonus stuff from. And that's not something that was very common in most games. You have to go back to games like River City Ransom for stuff like that, really. But just like that, see, I got cornered by 3 guys, and very quickly I die. Now, Ryu's got this jump kick, which I'm not a real fan of. He's much more of a straight-on striker type of guy. I was able to pick up the knife and take out one guy. And now I can go in this elevator. Now, breakpoints, this is all stuff that I need to be able to smash before the timer up above hit 0. So pick up the power drink, fully replenish my life, and on we go. Oops, did not want to do that as I get hit by the truck. Now, if you let guys get up close enough to you, you can throw them. But as you can see, the graphics in this game aren't a ton to write home about, and that's part of the reason why a game like this was so easy to produce. It was also part of why it wasn't super popular back in the day. On game rankings, they gave it only a 55% for the Neo Geo. But for me, part of the appeal of games like this is really simple. If you're like me, in the 1980s, I grew up watching a ton, and I mean a ton, of action movies of all sorts. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Van Damme, even Seagal, you name them, I watched them. But when I got a little bit further along and discovered Asian action cinema out of Hong Kong and Japan, and discovered specifically Jackie Chan. I'd already known about Bruce Lee, because how could you not? But if you go back, and I actually went and watched a couple of his movies over the past week, which got me interested in this. I went back and watched the original Police Story, which is one of the most influential and celebrated action films ever made. And you will not find many people who dispute that. It's an amazing achievement for what Jackie Chan did in 1983, 84. I think it was, 84, 85 when he made that movie. But a lot of the elements that are in that movie and similar movies like it that have been made going into the 90s and the aughts, they were still made in the 2010s, and they're still being made now because they're cheap in the fact that they don't have huge budgets, but pound for pound what they put into it makes them enjoyable. And a game like Burning Fight fits that mold to a T. I mean, it's so over the top in its premise that it's a game that, yeah, you would pop quarters in and just have fun with it. And ultimately, what's wrong with that? Not much. Alright, take that guy out. Come in here. Now, Duke is very much a kicker. When this game came out in June 1991, Game Machine magazine listed it as the 8th most popular arcade game at the time. And because it was on the Neo Geo, obviously not a lot of kids in the US who were my age when that console was brought to the American market had a chance to play it. Because as I've said, the thing about the Neo Geo was, for as advanced a game system as it was also super expensive. Like, I have a PS5, and that cost me $500, which is no small chunk of change. I fully grant you that. But in today's dollars, the Neo Geo would be $1,500, which is $300 more than my PC is worth. That's how far ahead of its time the Neo Geo was. And people tell me I keep harping on that, but it's a valid point to make. If SNK came out with the Neo Geo nowadays, and I cannot imagine for the life of me they ever would, but they, in no small part of, if they put that price point on it, they get crushed by every critic and every consumer out there. This is the other reason why I like games like this, is that tell me this is not a 1980s Hulk Hogan clone. He certainly fits the bill, with a little bit of Mad Max thrown in, maybe. Now, one thing I do like about this game, for as simple as it is, it's like a tag with a clothesline here. The controls are easy enough, and the mechanics are easy enough. We'll keep going with Duke here. Although we should try Bill. Move to the head. Come back here, dude. Alright, Huckster. But I like how you can put combinations together between punches and kicks. Now, this was something else that I thought was unique to this game. And you have a level like this where you've got the guys on the other side who are chucking sticks of dynamite at us. We got to avoid those and take out the baddies here to jump the rails and come over and attack us. And in some ways, we can use the dynamite to our advantage. Alright, we get off the moving sidewalk. And we have another sub-boss fight. We take out Harold Carr here. Sounds like a car dealer. Boot to the head, boot to the head, boot to the head, boot to the head. Oof! Yasu ran me through. So make it through that level, and now we have Ticket to Trade. So we're going to fight on top of a subway, going somewhere, because of course you would. I mean, we saw them fighting on top of a semi-truck in the second Matrix movie. Why would we not fight on the top of a train here? And graphically, for this game being now 30 plus years old, it's actually not that bad. As we have a helicopter shooting at us. Whoa! I didn't realize I had a super attack. I hit punch and jump at the same time. Whoa, throw that away. Pick up the busted bottle. Ooh! Yeah, well, the trick or relate our way over this way. How are these guys jumping on the side of a moving subway, though? That's impressive. Alright, we'll take Billy this time, because we haven't used him yet, because we're 15 minutes in. Billy's very much the biggest guy of the trio. With a square jaw to go with a crew cut, you can really set your watch to. Speaking of... There, put him down. Hadouken! Oh, wait, wrong game, sorry. I hope I don't get a copyright strike for that. Backed off, and we make it through stage 2. So we only have 3 more stages to go. Now, in their review for this game, All Game magazine regarded this as a Final Fight ripoff of inferior quality, and the critic who reviewed it said it was jerky and stiff with the controls. And yeah, I mean, they're not the most fluid controls in the game, or I've ever played a fighting game, but that was very part and parcel for the time. We tend to think it was different, but it really wasn't. Alright, you not running me over here, dude? Apparently not. Alright, we'll go back to Duke. Beat up a forklift before they get any ideas. Grab the Japanese pizza. Alright, Duffies. I love how he does that running slap. And I say I love that in terms of it drives me nuts when they do that. We didn't get the full power up out of that, but and knocks me out with a butt slam and then does the running slap. There, that puts him down. Now, I didn't have to hit that bystander, but sometimes it can genuinely be more of a hindrance than a help. Oh, we got another wrestler. come on. Really? There. And this guy's just gonna sit there and keep running at me with this lariat attack. Gary Powell. Sounds like a CPA. There we go. We start getting into a pattern here.
Nice choice.
There. Put him down. GamePro Slasher Quan in their review said this game was similar to Final Fight in terms of visuals and gameplay, but also praised the presentation and the music. Going. So it looks like we're going to have to go to the top of this elevator. And I always love it when I have a chance to pick up a bow staff or something like that. If it was a staff, a sword, something to that effect, I always love being able to grab it. I remember, I think it was in Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, they had a, you could actually grab nunchucks and use those. If you ever had a chance to be able to grab a weapon like that that felt like it could do a high amount of damage, you always made sure to get it before you could, as soon as you could. How many more floors are we going to go up here? That answers my question. Looks like we have a samurai up there on the very top. Nito Ryuji. Swing low. Alright, let's see if we can't get by this guy here. So we got about 5 minutes to go in this episode. I do think, though, there is an expectation for games like this where they... Because they were the equivalent of making B-grade action movies for video game console, at least in that effect. Because, and game companies like SNK neither could afford to, nor did they really want to spend a whole ton of money on games like this. I think both at the time and nowadays especially, they're in going back and revisiting them. It is rather easy to sit there and pawn these off as being almost insultingly simple. And maybe because it shows my age a little bit, or I think about it in terms of the times in which these games were made.
Nice choice.
But not every game we had was designed to be a AAA title. They just weren't. I mean, it's no different than it is nowadays. There was as much emphasis on the simple and the inexpensive as opposed to going full out and creating... Oh, nice Van Damme-esque pose there with the spin kick. But for every Super Mario or Zelda game or Metroid game or Metal Gear or things like that, there was a ton of games like this. There just were. And that's not a bad thing. But I think there's been a degree of expectation of if the game is not graphically astonishing and has the deepest storyline to it, then it's somehow not up to snuff. And I can be as picky about that stuff as the next person, so I'm not saying that I'm somehow above the fray on that. I'm as picky when it comes to the games I want to play as anybody else. But it was also in no small part the justification for why I started this channel was wanting to explore games like this. Alright, let's go back to Ryu and see if we can't finish up this level before we run out of time here. And because I never certainly had a Neo Geo when I was a kid, how the heck would I have ever known that a game like this would have come out? And I also think it speaks to the times that we were living in the early 90s, when games like this were still very popular, not necessarily in the US, but that they were popular overseas in Japan and elsewhere in the world, and we were now, 30 years later, able to see them and experience them on their own terms. Because this game was reissued as part of the SNK Best Of set that came out on the PlayStation and the PSP. It was on the PS2, I should say. Back in the early 2000s. So if you're somebody who wants to go back and play classic games and doesn't necessarily have access to an emulator, although being able to find this on an emulator was not hard. You have that option as well. Alright, well, we are at 30 minutes thereabouts, so we're just going to let this run down and call it good. But that, everybody, is Burning Fight from 1991 for the SNK Neo Geo. Now, let's get the obvious question out of the way. Is it a good game? I'd say it's not a terrible game. I'd say for what it is a very straightforward, classic, C to B grade action platforming game. That's about it. And that's not to say that it is anything more than that. You know, like as I pointed out, the mechanics are not difficult. If you've played similar games like Streets of Rage, Double Dragon, Final Fight, any of those games, this will make perfect sense to you. It's 5 levels long, so you can beat it in a day. You could probably beat it in, let's see, we played it in a half an hour, and we got to level 4. You could probably beat this game in 90 minutes, roughly. And, I mean, is it going to be a profound experience? Probably not. Are you going to have fun? Maybe. I hope so. Because it doesn't try to be anything other than what it is. Yeah, it's got a couple of different aspects to it by being able to go into the side shops or replenish your life and things like that. You have a different variety of weapons so you can pick up and throw around, but by and large, it fits the same basic template of all 2D side-scrolling fighting games of this genre type, of the crime action flick type of game. Despite the fact that it didn't rank very high on game rankings, consoles and computer and video games magazines both gave it a 92%. Eurogamer gave it a 7 out of 10 for the Wii, so it was reissued on that as well. Joypad and Joystick gave the Neo Geo version a 92%. And Player One gave an 85%. Other reviews were good to middling, but for a game that is now, 33 years old, that we never saw come out here in the US, and was part of a catalog that included far better games and far better versions of games like this, it's not bad. And I think and it's something I've said a lot, is that within the simplicity of it, that there lies the fun. Because you don't have to think too hard. You don't have to overthink it. You know, I've been playing Metal Gear Solid now for a while, and that's an easy game to sometimes overthink. I've gone back and in preparation for the Elden Ring DLC, which drops this next week, I've gone back and played that a little bit, and I've also played modded versions of Dark Souls 3, which again, having just played Dark Souls 1 not too long ago for the first time, that bug bit me hard, but I don't want to dive into that too much. But there's plenty of examples out there of really complex, intricately designed games, and we all know which ones they are. And sometimes you just want to pop one on and shut your brain off for a little bit and get through it. And Burning Fight to me seems like a perfectly adequate version of that if there's something you want to do and just play for an hour. Because you'll finish it in an hour, if not a little bit more. So, if you've never tried it, again, I'm playing this on the WinKWAX, WINKAWAKS emulator. But you can also get it on the Best of SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1, which was released for the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation Portable, and the Wii back in 2008. So, if you've been enjoying the content on this channel, best way to show it, hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to be notified of new episodes as they come out. We will be carrying on with our revisitation of Metal Gear Solid, speaking of, tomorrow, and we will have another new episode on Wednesday. And then on Saturday, for Sports Saturday, it will be week 2 of our playthrough of NFL 2K2 for the Sega Dreamcast. We had a technical glitch at the end of episode 1 that I didn't anticipate happening, so we're going to correct that and get that sorted out, more details when we get that episode recorded, and we'll go from there. And be sure to follow us on social media as well, through Instagram and Threads at Ronan's Retrocade. Helps spread the word about us as we continue to grow the channel and make it bigger and better. My name is Ronan. It has been great to spend this Sucker Punch Sunday with you. Be safe, be well, happy gaming, happy Father's Day, by the way, to all the gamer dads out there. And we will talk to you tomorrow as we carry on back in the Great White North, trying to save the world again in Metal Gear Solid. Bye.